Dear viewers, welcome to the show. This is a special interview program coming to you on the occasion of the 65th anniversary marking the establishment of Nepal-China bilateral relations. I am Shivani Thapa Bosnath with you. 1st August 1955 is the day when the two countries, Nepal and China, sat together to sign a dossier which marked the formal commencement of the bilateral ties between the two very close neighbors. However, the relationship dates back to ancient times. Fast forward to 2020, much has changed in the respective domestic affairs of both the countries and also the ambience and events surrounding them. Today, on this special occasion, we make an effort to discuss this whole dynamics relating to the Nepal-China bilateral relationship. And it's my pleasure to be welcoming to the show on this very special edition of the interview program, the Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Pradeep Kumar Gyawali. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Sivani.
Today, at this point of time, you stand at the reins of international policy and relations of the country. Now, how do you see the 65 years of Nepal-China relationship vis-a-vis Nepal's foreign policy?
At the outset, I would like to extend my warmest greetings and felicitations to the government of China and the friendly people of China. Really, it is a historical day. Many things have been changed, world has changed, and profound and tremendous changes have been witnessed both in China and Nepal over the years. However, one thing is constant, that is the friendship, understanding and trust between Nepal and China. The relation between our two countries has evolved as an example of neighborly relations between two countries which are different in size. They follow different political systems and they are in different stages of the economic development. However, we enjoy, we cherish a problem-free, trouble-free relation.
Looking back, 65 years is a very, very long time. And what has been the defining characters over the years in this relationship?
We can trace the people-to-people relation back in first half of the first millennia when Buddhist scholars, they traveled, they laid the foundation of very strong cultural bonds. Since the formal establishment of the diplomatic relation back in 1955, is a defining feature, reason of this relation is mutual trust and understanding. The appreciation of each other's concerns, interest and sensitivity have been a bedrock in our relation. The 5 principles of Panchasila guides us, and Nepal consistently follows the One China policy, and it has not only promised but throughout the history honestly fulfilled that commitment to not allow its soil to be misused against the genuine interest of China. Similarly, China has always stood for Nepal's sovereignty, independence, and Nepal's choice of political system or its choice of development perspective.
Now, let's come straight to 2019. The visit of the Chinese President Xi Jinping, added a lot of euphoria at all levels here in Nepal. And if I may recall, Right Honourable Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli said that this particular visit, added a new meaning to the relation between the two countries. And then there was this very important statement coming from the Chinese president himself, wherein he said that the relationship has now elevated to a strategic partnership. Now, how do you explain us the post-visit era? How do people perceive this sense of elevation?
Of course, the visit was a landmark visit. Not only it was a visit after a long gap, after the gap of 23 years, but it was the visit of the leader which has been emerged as a most prominent leader of the world. Secondly, when he was addressing the state banquet, assuring Nepali people that China stands always with Nepal in its pursuance of being land-linked from the landlocked country. That was a great message. Similarly, President Xi firmly reiterated China's support for Nepal's aspiration of prosperous Nepal and happy Nepali. So those messages very, very meaningful. And during the visit, we crafted a new terminology of our relation. And as you mentioned, we have developed or elevated it in the new strategic partnership for development and prosperity. That means we have entered in a new era of substantive economic and development partnership. And now time has come to materialize those promises, those commitments, and those agreements we done at that time.
Yes, as you deal with this, there is equal curiosity about, over the progress of matters and the activities that have heightened here in the domestic front. Now, could you share with us what is driving this engagement, which is in fact attracting a lot of attention? Is it ideological, political, or simply driven by the sense of development partnership?
The relation between the nations are not guided by the ideology. They are guided, and they should be guided, by national interest, international practices, law, and norms. Yes, if it will be useful if personal level of contacts, understanding between the top political leadership, it will definitely add some value. We should look this new chapter as an enhanced level of development partnership and a common commitment that we will proceed together, joining hands for the betterment of the people of the both countries, which will definitely contribute a factor for the broader regional prosperity and development.
Right. No wonder Nepal-China relationship probably is at its strongest in history at the moment, and it's also a time when Nepal is, taking to define, redefine, and is in the process of making its foreign relations. Right. So, and it is also an initiative. If I recall an interview with you last time, it's also an initiative undertaken by you to reform the foreign policies and the proceedings there. How has this ongoing discourse of the proximity paradox affected this reform process? If you could share your experience.
Yeah. We are witnessing the various dynamics of the change geopolitical and global politics, global geoeconomics and global economics as well. The power equation are under change. The paradigm is gradually shifting. The Euro-America-centric global order has been questioned, and the rise of China and as well as India has made a big differences in all arena. The multilateral institutions, our old order which we are used to, has been under threat. New powers are emerging. Some are aspiring to be a global regional power. So it has created a new context which has both aspects. It has creating new challenges and providing new opportunities as well. So Nepal, as the country in a very strategic geolocation, should be very careful while defining its foreign policy, redefining its foreign policy. When we talk about the major guidelines of our foreign policy, we have some fundamentals in that regard. We, throughout the history, have followed the basic principle of non-alignment. So when there is a contestation between the major powers, we should be very careful and refrain always to be a part of any strategic alliances. We should strictly follow the norms of non-aligned. Second, we should enhance, broaden, and diversify our relation so that we should not be confined in particular sector or region. Definitely, our major engagement begins from the neighbors. We have two big neighbors, and we look it as an opportunity to be in between two largest market of the globe, and we want to be linked to various connectivity means to these two largest markets so that we can be benefited. We are in favor of regional stability. So when we look the increasing understanding between our two neighbors, we welcome it. And when we witness some misunderstanding, even tensions between the neighbors, it worries us. However, we never compare our relation. Our relation with India, it has some unique features. Our relation with China, it has some unique features. We never compare. We never make any that type of contestation among the relation. It is an independent choice of Nepal to develop a cordial, meaningful and productive relation between the two neighbors.
As we talk Nepal's international relations and all these complexities and the efforts being made, there's something I would want to bring to light. Often the government, over the lengthy period of time, I'm not just talking about the current government, but over the past many decades, has been seen as being myopic in judgment and vision. How would you discuss this, or what would be your statements in terms of Nepal-China relations as we are talking about at the moment?
When we look overview of the history of our international relation and our relation with neighboring countries and beyond, one thing is consistent. That is, Nepal basically has been following the independent and balanced outlook. That doesn't mean that there were not any flaws, lapses. Yes, there were. Sometime, as you pointed out, there were some myopic type of attitudes for the petty interest of particular group leadership. Some unnecessary steps were taken, unnecessary decisions were taken, unnecessary engagements were there. However, the major reason behind an independent history of Nepal, which was never been colonized, which always maintained its independence, was the consistently following of the balanced relation. When we talk about our relation with China, we have a long-term perspective. It is not guided by short-term interest or any petty interest, because being a very close neighbor, we have some shared aspirations, shared concerns. Peace in the region, stability in the region is a prerequisite for the drive towards prosperity. So those common concerns has laid a foundation for this trustworthy relation. Nepal's interest is to be connected through various means to the largest market of the globe, so that we can promote our export trade, we can transfer the technology, we can compensate those years which were lost due to the political instability, violence, a transition. We have to scale up our speed, because since a couple of decades we were trapped in the internal domestic politics. So to develop fast, we need international support, we need investment, we need cooperation, we need connectivity, we need various means of access to the neighboring market and beyond. Transit transport agreement and transit transport protocol was a landmark initiation in that regard, which has created a new environment for Nepal. As we very often use this terminology, Nepal has been changed as a land-linked country from the landlocked. So Nepal's interest is clear.
Straight to the question, do we have any outstanding boundary issues or disputes with China?
No. When there was a so-called media report, immediate after that report, Ministry of Agriculture, which was quoted for a so-called report, it clearly denied, and it stated that it was a fake document. And similarly, Ministry of Foreign Affairs has made clear there is no any outstanding boundary issues. Yes, there are some works to be finalized. One is Nepal hasn't finalized its zero number boundary marker with China, because it begins from the tri-junction between Nepal, India and China. It has not been decided yet, because we have outstanding boundary issues with India, and when we will finalize it, then we can identify the point where Nepal, India and China meet. So when we started the boundary demarcation back in 1960s, our pillar begins with number 1 nearby Lipu Lake, slightly west from Tinker Banjang. So there is no any outstanding problem, but it is a remaining task, and it is basically remaining with India. But after finalizing the boundary with India, then three countries should meet together so that we can identify the tri-junction in that regard. During the visit of His Excellency Xi Jinping, we have signed the boundary management agreement. It has perceived to create a permanent mechanism.
Just talking about all these analytics and observations, what is your take on the Chinese statement that Kalapani is a bilateral issue between Nepal and India and that it should be resolved bilaterally?
We have two observations on that regard. One is the joint statement of 2015 during the visit of Indian Prime Minister in China, when trading and pilgrimage pass. Nepal immediately sent a diplomatic note to both of countries because according to the Sugoi Treaty, Lipu Lake belongs to Nepal, and China has formally responded our letter, and it has told us that we are ready to discuss on this issue based upon historical facts, evidences and documents. Second, I just mentioned about the finalizing or identification of the tri-junction. To finalize those issues, definitely role of China is important and expected, but if we talk about the problem, of course, the Kalapani issue is a bilateral issue between Nepal and India.
Right. And in the recent times, when we talk about Nepal-China relationship, we cannot leave out the reconstruction support part. If you could briefly touch upon that and tell us what is the state of affairs in that context.
We are very thankful to the government and people of China who responded immediately after the earthquake of 2015. China was one of the first respondent when we organized international conference on reconstruction. China pledged and it fulfilled that pledge as well. Now various projects have been completed. The projects of reconstruction under the Chinese assistance have been achieved significant, remarkable progress. And during the visit of His Excellency President Xi Jinping, he declared that China will provide Nepal 3.5 billion RMB in the year of 2021 to 23, and those projects will also be used on various construction or reconstruction programs of Nepal in the priority sector.
At the moment, there is a new reality facing the whole world, the coronavirus pandemic, which still is, far from being certain at the moment. So, in this regard, are there any new avenues or perspectives developing in the post-pandemic times, given the new normal that we're already in?
When we talk about this pandemic, let me congratulate Chinese people and Chinese government for their success to containing this deadly virus. The way it responded not only to its people but the very needy people of all over the world, it is really very, very touching. China had provided and still is providing us the very needed health equipments, and it has pledged with us that it is ready to provide any sort of support to Nepal's fight against COVID-19. We have shared a future, so to tackle the challenges, we should work together, we should work together.
As we come towards the end of this conversation, Honourable Minister, just out of curiosity, it's been quite an eventful term for you. How are you looking forward to the days ahead?
Foreign relation is a multi-dimensional process. Though the Ministry of Foreign Affairs leads, but there are many actors, political parties, parliament, media, citizens, business community. There are many actors. If we can develop a synergy, if we develop a synchronization on conducting major diplomatic works, it contributes to protect we can differ in domestic matters. In democracy, there may be varieties of opinions and views, but when we deal with foreigners, when we talk about the foreign policy, there should be a single voice in this regard. I am happy that when Nepal published new political map, when we amended the constitution, when we formulated the constitution back in 2015, in major landmark events, Nepal's political parties and entire Nepali people are united. That is the strength which provides me energy, a vigor to serve this very important responsibility.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. It's a wonderful note to end this conversation on, and thank you so much for sparing your very valuable time to share your very valued and important perspectives.
Thank you. It was interesting talk, so indeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dear viewers, that is all coming to you from this special edition of the interview program held on the backdrop of the 65th anniversary of the Nepal-China bilateral ties. That's it from the crew, and it's me, Shivani Thapa Bosnet, saying goodbye and namaste.